Hello my soccer universe, to a review of round 29 in the Austrian Bundesliga, and usually there's LASK focus. I think there's a little bit less this round. I'm wearing the LASK away jersey, not because LASK were wearing that one, they're actually wearing the home jersey in their away game. However, I'm wearing this for the LASK ladies who secured survival in the first season in the Austrian Bundesliga thanks to a win over last place Lustenau. And amazingly so, they increased the goals scored total by more than 50%, winning 10 goals to 1. That was rather emphatic, and they were wearing this type of jersey. So I was very pleased with that, and this happened on the same day that LASK won away, got their 7th win in a row. I don't remember LASK winning 7 games in a row and also conceding that little. And yes, the opposition is weak, but that's a rather remarkable streak. However, there are plenty of other stories that I want to focus on, and we will get to the league, which is super tight up top and also super tight, even tighter on the bottom. We have a 4-way title race on top, we have a 4-way relegation battle on the bottom, and in the relegation battle, the 4 teams are separated by a single point. That is rather mad. And also on top, Sturm Graz have a 3-point cushion. Should Wolfsberg win out, they actually would be in a driver's seat to win an incredible double. Double, yes, because they won the cup in the midweek, their first ever title in a remarkable final. Not because the final was so good, it really wasn't, but in a duel between 2 small towns. There were over 20,000 people in the stadium in Klagenfurt, and yes, free tickets did contribute to that. But that is an atmosphere that I did not expect. If it was 10,000, I think it would have been amazing. But there are also a few other headlines that I would like to mention. First of all, Causa Klagenfurt. Klagenfurt have gotten the license now, and they also started the era Carsten Janka. That appointment just doesn't sit well because he's so much linked to their current sponsor, who already guaranteed before they took over Klagenfurt that he will be working for them. So Carsten Janka, a nepo baby in a way, and I don't think he would deserve that. But I also want to talk about the second league, where we had the huge top clash on Friday evening as well between Ried and Admira. Admira holding a 1-point lead in the table. However, it was Ried who won 2-0 and now have a 2-point cushion on top of the table. Ried, of course, being a local rival of LASK. And on one side, I would be very happy to see Ried get promoted. It would be 3 teams from Upper Austria, so it's good for football in Upper Austria. On the other side, it's another game where you know it will mean more to your rival than it does for you. And that has been Ried's problem the last time they have been in the Bundesliga as well. That, you know, they did well against LASK, but badly against the opposition. But personally, I would love for Ried to come up. As I said, it's always good to have plenty of derbies in and around Upper Austria. And yes, it will also increase the heat in my office. But what's truly remarkable is what's happening in the Bundesliga, which we will review now, but we have to start with the cup final. And it is Wolfsberg who in a final of first-timers win the cup against Hartberg. There was also a final of who has the most sponsors. The crowd being really impressive, over 20,000, when 2 teams from rather small communities were meeting up. I think at least Hartberg never have played in front of such a big crowd. That's also noteworthy. The game itself was not very noteworthy. WSG had the better of the first half, twice hit the woodwork, but it was not a great game to watch. There was just too much at stake. Jed Drew for Hartberg had a pretty big chance right at the beginning of the second half that he pulled just a little bit wide. And then in the end, it's the golden hand of Coach Kübauer who brings on Omich and Gattermeier in the 75th minute, and not even 2 minutes later, those two combine for Gattermeier to head it in for the winning goal. In the end, Hartberg were pushing. Wolfsberg probably had another chance to double their lead, but they win the cup. Big congratulations to them. They were celebrating, probably celebrating too much. The roof of the stadium even caught a little bit of fire by some impromptu celebrations. However, Wolfsberg quickly realized that this might not be the only title that they can win this year. The Carsten Janka area in Klagenfurt starts with a 1-1 draw at relegation rivals GAK, who had a little bit more of the game, even took the lead through Moderne in the 30th minute again from open play, which is something GAK have not managed a whole lot. However, Binder just 4 minutes later equalized for Klagenfurt, who then are reduced to 10 men in the 49th minute with a direct red card. However, they see it out and it feels very much like points dropped for GAK. Despite already having secured top spot in the qualification round, the LASK engine keeps on purring. Well, purring is maybe not the right way to say it, because there were quite some hiccups in the first half where LASK seemed ponderous, slow, and Tirol actually had better chances despite LASK dominating possession. However, that all changed then in the second half, where within a minute Florian Flecker puts in a cross to Entrup, who gives LASK the lead, but WSG strike back from a Blume free kick from outside of the box. Lawrence heads it in. Second goal that LASK concede in the qualification round. And there was for a brief moment again the chance that Tirol take the lead. There was Jovicic losing the ball. However, then LASK actually really kick in the next gear. A corner kick by Schul is headed in by Smolch in the 58th minute. And then Coach Richard brings on Lang, and he's not even on the field for 2 minutes. He intercepts a ball that goes to Koulibaly, who plays it long again towards Lang, who then slots it home for a 3-1 win. In the end, it was really, really comfortable, although there were some nervous moments in the first half. After losing a cup final, Hartberg do hit back with a 2-0 home win over Altach, a win that secures them survival for another season in the Bundesliga. Given that they're such a small town club, this is rather remarkable that they managed to stay up top for such a long time already. And it was a fully deserved win. Altach didn't really show that much, and you really were wondering who is the team that is actually battling hard against the relegation, but I think that's the problem for Altach. In the end, it's a Guganik own goal in the 55th minute that gives Hartberg the advantage, who then are just playing it home and convert in the 86th minute a penalty through Mijic, who himself was fouled also. I found this a slightly contentious one, but overall there was nothing contentious about the win for Hartberg. Sturm Graz get a huge 4th win over Blau-Weiß Linz this season, a win that actually allows them to defend the top of the table, and that despite a really nervous personnel situation with many players being either suspended or missing on injury, especially in the attacking line. It's always Otar Kitashvili, who finally crowns an attack in the 48th minute to give Sturm Graz the lead. Sturm Graz produced plenty of chances, however couldn't get the ball over the line, and so then there were some nervy moments. I think Seidel hit the crossbar, and when Beganovic was sent off, again a red card for Sturm. Sturm Graz was very much on the back foot, however they could see the game out and see it over the line, and such wins are the wins that will lead you eventually to a title. It is truly indicative of the poor form that Rapid are in that they lose at home to a Wolfsberg team who played already in the midweek, were celebrating a cup title, but I guess were also buoyed by that cup title. Rapid tried to create chances. There was plenty of effort there. However, it all amounted to almost nothing. Offensively, Rapid are rather tame. And when Wolfsberg came in front of the opposing goal, it actually was more dangerous than almost anything that Rapid produced. And so it came as it had to come. Midway through the second half, Diabate gets the ball from Ullmann, runs down the left flank, plays over to Atanga, who slots it home in the 63rd minute, giving WRC a, I don't even want to say shock lead, because at this moment in time, WRC winning in Hütteldorf is not that crazy anymore. And they even could have doubled it. Atanga had another pretty good chance. In the end, they see it out. Huge 3 points for Wolfsberg. They remain very much in this title race, whereas Rapid really have to look over their shoulder and hope that Blau-Weiß Linz are not catching up with them. Austria Vienna might do really well against Sturm Graz, who they beat now twice in a row. However, against Salzburg, they continue to lose and lose again. And it happened also this in the top match of this round, where they went to Salzburg and lose 2-0. And they probably have only themselves to blame. They were very passive. They were content with this draw, which honestly would have been a good result for them, but they also were riding the luck early on where Tetzen had a big chance where he was called back then for an offside. He also had an open net where he put the ball right on the crossbar, so the chances were there for Salzburg. There were only some minor chances for Austria Vienna, one at the end of the first half and one towards the beginning of the second half, and in the end is then Dorgeles Nene who has a shot deflected into the net that gives Salzburg their deserved 1-0 lead, and then Radkov, who had come on during the course of the second half, taps one home in the 89th minute to seal the deal in a win that keeps Salzburg just about alive in the championship race, but vital 3 points in their quest to maybe finish in the top 2, which would mean Champions League qualification. So, since we know now the cup winner, everything in the table makes a teeny bit more sense. Wolfsberg with the cup win have already a place in the Europa League playoff secured. So they will get that regardless. They only can upgrade. So if they finish in the top 2, that spot then will go to the 3rd place team. Should Wolfsberg finish in the 4th place or 5th place, they keep that. It's just then everything else moves above them. So that's the first situation, which also has a direct implication on the qualification round, because now the semi-final leg will be played with the 7th place team, which is already LASK, hosting the 8th place team, which is most likely already Hartberg. That's pretty clear. Hartberg have only a smidgen of a chance to not finish in 8th spot. So we have that already guaranteed as well. Now, if we look on the top of the table, Sturm Graz have a 3-point cushion. However, Wolfsberg have now the program of playing Blau-Weiß Linz, should be a win at home, against Austria Vienna. If they win that one, they go into a last game at Sturm Graz to play potentially for the title, unless it ends up in a 3-way tie, because they lose the head-to-head against Austria Vienna, but they would win it against Sturm Graz already, because they won against them already 2 times. 3rd time would be the charm, and most of the time they were quite dominant. So this sets up a dramatic finale, and it also means that Salzburg chances are very minimal as well, because they need to hope that the other teams drop points. They definitely will have to get something from Sturm Graz next round, so watch out for that one. And for Austria Vienna it's also not that easy, because there's a derby coming up. Although, derby, Rapid, yeah, Blau-Weiß Linz would own the tiebreaker over Rapid, so have that in mind as well. So if they finish level, then Blau-Weiß Linz is in 5th spot. This would be then in the playoff final for the final Conference League spot. 5th spot would play the winner of LASK against Hartberg. And then on the bottom, what did I tell you? WSG Tirol are just a point ahead of Klagenfurt, GRK and Altach. And it also has to be said that Tirol and Klagenfurt, if points are level, will own the tiebreaker over GRK and Altach thanks to rounding down. So really exciting stuff right there. It goes right down the wire with those. Altach may sit in last spot, but they have now 2 duels against direct opponents in that relegation battle. And should they win those 2, then I think Altach are safe. I can barely ever remember a more exciting season, although is it sportingly fair if your points got slashed in half after the regular season? That's a question we'll try to answer another time. And with such a tight league, of course, almost every match matters. In the qualification round, or relegation group as I also call it, we have the bottom 4 each playing each other. We have Altach against GRK, those are the last 2 teams, then Klagenfurt against Tirol, the 2 teams that own the tiebreaker over the other 2. LASK against Hartberg, really not much to play for. Hartberg are already safe, they cannot overtake LASK. It's more or less a preview for the semi-final, or is it really? I guess the only thing is, will LASK get an 8th win in a row? Then on Friday already, we have the big match between Sturm Graz and Red Bull Salzburg. Major matchup for both teams. Sturm Graz at least need to get a point to stay in control of their own destiny, and Salzburg need the win to stay in the title race. Wolfsberg facing the easy 3 points against Blau-Weiß Linz, although easy, it's never easy to play against Blau-Weiß Linz. And then the Vienna Derby will probably decide the direction for either Austria Vienna and Rapid. So there's plenty to play for in this round, and I will be at the only game that accounts for nothing. So those were my thoughts on a rather eventful week in Austrian football. It is all going down to the wire, and that makes it quite exciting. Please let me know in the comments below. Do you think, can Wolfsberg get a double? That would be unheard of. A small town like Wolfsberg winning the double. I honestly would love it. It will also send a signal to the LASK leadership that, probably you shouldn't have fired Didi Kübauer, who has now won his first title with Wolfsberg in the cup and has a decent chance of winning a championship as well. So that would definitely send shockwaves throughout Austria, and I think it would be the champion that I would probably support most among the four candidates. And also, I don't know who will go down. My gut feeling says Klagenfurt. They're just too messy. Everything seems messy there. I think Graz and Altach play decently enough, but they also need to get wins. My biggest fear is that in the next round, all the four bottom teams again will draw each other, because it is convenient, but it will not give us any more clarity. Although, have in mind that both Graz and Altach still have to play LASK. Whether LASK is up for it, as they're already more or less on the beach. No, not really. There's a playoff. That is the big question. Any case, drop a line below. What do you think? Wolfsberg champions? Who will get relegated? Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. And I will talk to you soon about more things in my Austrian Bundesliga universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!